Hello everyone, and welcome back to the most autistic MMA YouTube channel that exists. Today I'm going to be discussing who the Featherweight GOAT is, because there's been a lot of talk about this recently, and who better to tell you all how it is than me, some random kid on the internet. Without further ado, I would like to start this conversation off with one name, Jose Aldo, whatever you want to call him. I think he is a very interesting case, being that his record is from a time far gone. The WEC, which was later consumed by the UFC, is where he got some of his title defenses started. And a lot of the competition he beat, by the time the other guys we'll be talking about came around, really whittled down and potentially showed that they weren't quite there on that same level. But that is a discussion for, I guess, age and just the sports growing as a whole. It's really hard to tell. And I just want to go based off of what he's done and how he still is. He has, I think, the most featherweight title defenses, and that would be either 6 or 7 off the top of my head. And yeah, he's had a very good career and he's still doing great. I think, although he kind of fits better onto the all-time GOAT conversation than the featherweight GOAT conversation, which doesn't make much sense, I will admit. I think I don't know. I think his bantamweight run really cements on top of what he's done at featherweight, how much of a legend he really is. How he's still so old and doing so well. He's only really losing to Merab and Mario these days by getting held against the fence, which is kind of ridiculous. At bantamweight, he has a lot of split decisions and crappy stuff, except for Piotr Jan, who beat the frick out of him like a Chad. But yeah, Aldo, I think, is someone who should definitely be mentioned in this conversation and given a lot of respect. I don't think there's a lot. The thing that really holds Aldo down is his losses. He's lost a lot, and especially recently. He doesn't lose in like convincing ways a lot of the time, only to really great fighters. But that being said, he's lost to everyone I'm about to bring up on this list except for Ilya. Stay tuned for that. And yeah, that kind of transitions us into my next subject of conversation, Conor McGregor. Conor knocked him out in 14 seconds in the first round immediately, which I think doesn't really, I don't know, it's good and bad. I don't think you get to see the skills, how they really line up, but at the same time, you know, he showed he could knock him out pretty easily. And yeah, Conor is someone who I think belongs on the Mount Rushmore of MMA. I don't think you can really call him, I don't know, it gets really subjective what you define a GOAT as, and I think Conor McGregor, for what he's done for the sport, has, well, he has areas that he is greater than any other fighter by leaps and bounds, but his activity and, he's gotten in his own way a lot with his career, which I think is his major flaw that he has. And yeah, I just want to throw Conor's name in there too. I think he also is someone that deserves a lot of respect for what he's done, not who he's become, which is sad to say. It's really sad. But yeah, I don't think he's anywhere near as goated at featherweight as any of these guys, even though he is the only featherweight fighter to ever move up a weight class and take a title and be a double champ. Volk tried, but he lost by split decision and got knocked out. So take from that what you will. But yeah, in a lot of people's eyes, Volk should have won that thing, so who knows? It was close enough to where either or is cool. It just depends on your own individual scoring of MMA and its criteria. So moving on, we're getting into the big three. These are the guys. And we'll start it off with Max Blessed Holloway. This guy's been around a very long time. His first fight in the UFC was one of his very first pro fights, and he was really young. I forget the exact age, but he's only really lost to the best of the best. He lost to Poirier back when he first came to the UFC and some other bummy dude, but he was young enough then to where it's excusable. And then he eventually lost again to McGregor and then moved up to lightweight and lost to Poirier on short notice. All the while never being knocked down or knocked out, which is very impressive. And what holds Max back the most, I think, in this category is, unfortunately, the losses to Alexander Volkanovski. He only really had a case to make that he won the second fight. I think watching the first fight, if you know how to score MMA, you're not going to score it for Volk. Or if you know how to score MMA, you're not going to be scoring it for If you know how to score MMA, you're not going to be scoring that one for Holloway at all. But the second one, I think there's a case to be made. And in the third, obviously, we're not even going to talk about that. He got beat up. And then, yeah, up until then, you know, he has a decent case if he ever were to get the title back, which leads us into the Ilya to Poirier fight where he got knocked out. And I think this is forever going to keep him out of the GOAT conversation, unfortunately, unless Ilya has a tragic downfall, which would make me cry so much because I love Ilya. He fights a lot like my favorite fighter, Petr Yan, and it's just such a nice style, such good boxing, such good grappling to complement it. If he had some judo to throw in there with that boxing, Ilya would be just so awesome. But yeah, Max is a legend, and I think by the end of his career, he will definitely have a better case to be made than Aldo. I think at this point, he's pretty even with Aldo as far as like all-time GOATs go. As far as featherweight goes, you know, he has beaten Aldo twice, so it's really hard to put Aldo ahead of him, even though Aldo on paper does seem more accomplished. And yeah, it'll just be down to how Max finishes his career. Moving on to the final two guys, and these two, one of them is going to be who I crown the greatest fighter of all time at featherweight. Firstly, we're going with Volkanovski. This guy's so good. I have many flowers to give him. He's a great point fighter. I will say that is his flaw. He doesn't have a lot of finishing capability, which, you know, can come to hurt some guys. When you're in there with someone like Ilya, you really gotta be able to hurt someone and either get that respect or get them out of there before they can do something to you. And yeah, I think age is a prominent factor in what did Volkanovski, and I think after the Yair fight, when he kind of took that time off, he was too old to be doing that. He fell out of shape, he fell out of his prime, and then got knocked out, and then so quickly tried to get back in there after that, back to who he was. And he probably was better going into that Ilya fight than he was going into the Makhachev fight for sure, but, you know, what happened, and that's due to the skill of Ilya as well as the potential downfall of Volkanovski, which is why I would like to see Alex fight either the winner of Aljo and Iplev or Lopez before he gets another title shot. I don't think anyone's really interested in the rematch at this point, unfortunately, even though, like Dana said, the UFC would give it to Volk just because he's always been there for them, and I just don't think it's a really smart move for Volk or the UFC to put him in that fight at this point. And I hope so deeply they don't, or at least get another fight going first to really solidify Volk as a contender and that he's still got it. Because he's on a 2-fight losing streak, and who wants to see a championship fight with someone who's on a 2-fight losing streak? But yeah, and I don't think I really need to introduce this next guy, Ilya. He's been knocking out GOATs. That's all I really need to say. Knocked out Holloway, first time anyone's ever done it. First time anyone's like badly dropped him too. Gaethje did knock him down, but no, he didn't drop him. He knocked him down. And I think Ilya is the greatest guy with potential to become the GOAT. I think Volkanovski is pretty clearly the featherweight GOAT at this point. Yeah, despite what my profile picture and nice words for Ilya might have alluded to, I think it's clearly Volkanovski. If you don't think so, you're kind of slow. Ilya doesn't have the record yet or the longevity Volkanovski's had to really solidify him at featherweight. He has great names in his past 2 fights, but he's still very young and still has a lot to prove. I think if you give Ilya the winner of Volk Lopez and then have him move up to lightweight potentially for a super fight there, that would be pretty cool. Or you keep having him defend a little bit more down at featherweight. I don't know how many high-selling fights there are going to be available down there. I would be really interested in the Aljo fight because I could see that going to split decision somehow, just based on how Aljo fights. He would kill my Pookie Bear Ilya, ruin our title aspirations and GOAT status. But yeah, all in all these dudes on the list very good. I think Holloway's pretty much probably the second greatest. It could be Aldo. I think Aldo's definitely higher on the overall GOATs scale, but they're probably neck and neck as well, so you know, it's down to personal preference, how you value the wins and all that. And yeah, I think Ilya has very high potential to surpass them. With a couple more wins, I think he probably does straight up do it. And yeah, I'm very interested to see how the career of Ilya Topuria will go because he has a very fan-friendly fight style and he's trying his best to promote fights, which is very admirable. Not a lot of fighters do that. You know, we'll find out Saturday night. But yeah, that being said, go ahead and let me know what you think down below. Give me some likes, some subscribes, stroke my ego a little bit, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what y'all have to say. I'll find out Saturday night. See you.